Okay, so normally with a car of this magnitude, we'd be all polished and fettled and we'd immerse your eyes in some really graceful B-roll. However, today you'll have to forgive my mildly disheveled state because we are at the end of a very long stint at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, but I've had an invite to show you the Aston Martin Valhalla. So, without further ado, I am quite excited about revealing this to you. Are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, this walk and talk is as candid and real as it gets. I'm doing this on the fly. I've literally just walked through the door over there, having had the invite from Aston to share this with you. You're effectively following me as I lay eyes on the greatly evolved state of this project for the first time. The sculpture, the aero sculpture is absolutely outstanding. You know, there's one thing that Aston have never failed at, which is just relentless beauty. And at the minute, they're fusing it with what seems to be relentless performance. I actually went up the hill in the Aston Martin Valkyrie earlier, which, depending on when this goes out, there's a link below to that drive. But today, we're here to talk about this thing. And there's one headline that I want to start with, and I think everything else will filter down from there, which Aston have set themselves the target, the incredible and exciting goal of becoming the world's fastest production car around the Nurburgring with the Valhalla, and they're aiming for a 6 minutes and 30-second lap time. We were on stage earlier with the Porsche GT2 RS MR, which as we film this is currently the existing fastest production car around the Nurburgring, and that does a 6 minutes 40.3 second lap time. So they need to shave off 10 seconds. So how are they going to do that? Well, the headline figures with this car is it's 950 PS, which is around about 937 brake horsepower. So that's one way of doing that. It's built entirely around a carbon fiber tub. Music to my ears is this car is now, wait for it, a flat plane crank 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 hybrid. So we're not downsizing just yet, which is great news. There was speculation that this car might have been a V6 when it launched a couple of years ago in quite a different guise at Geneva. We're probably going back now over 2.5 years ago. But I have to say, and I know I say this a lot on this channel, I'm not sure if the camera's doing it justice, but the sculpture of this thing is drop dead gorgeous. Check out this detail here. Look at this. Now you can see the tires. The car will be capable of around 217 miles an hour. So no doubt down that long final stretch of the Nürburgring, that's where this will make up quite a lot of time. Aston are just on fire right now. They are one of the most exciting brands in the automotive space. And then they go and pull the cover off this thing. Look at the air intake that's now going to be feeding that twin turbocharged V8. So the interesting thing about that 950 PS or 937 brake horsepower is that it majoritively, obviously, is developed by that V8 engine. So it's around about 700-ish horsepower from the V8, and then the additional horsepower comes from the hybrid drivetrain. So it is all-wheel drive. That's not necessarily to be confused with four-wheel drive. It has a very trick torque split where you're able to allocate 100% of the drive to the rear if you so wish, or depending on driver modes, allocate a lot more to the front. So in terms of the allocation of traction after the apex, if they want to deploy all 950 PS, they can unlock it in all-wheel drive mode. And it will be a PHEV, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Now, having had the honor of being quite heavily involved in the Valkyrie project from quite an early stage, I'm picking out all of these subtle design cues from that car. And I'm going to hit you with something now that it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but I think it's actually pretty good value considering what they're trying to achieve with this car. So it will be, and pricing isn't finalized right now, between £600,000 and £700,000. don't get me wrong, substantial amount of change. But if you think about the performance of this, it will be the fastest production car around the Nurburgring, V8, hybrid. And the idea of this, while it will be very much designed and developed to be a driver's car, it won't be quite as hardcore and harsh as something like the Valkyrie. So you can, use it on road trips and track days and things like that without it being too intense. Since they launched this car at Geneva a couple of years back, it just so happens that Aston Martin now have their own Formula One team, which means they have their own in-house driving talent in the names of Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll, and Nico Hülkenberg. And I'm told on good authority that genuinely those guys will at some stage have their input in the development of this car. So all of these wonderful components and that fabulous engine and the statements that I've just made about it being for the drivers and the enthusiasts will really manifest at some point through the fingertips of their Formula One team. So anyone who follows the channel regularly will know that I'm somewhat of a gearbox snob, and we do favour the twin-clutch gearbox in our high-performance cars, and lo and behold, this has not a 7 but an 8-speed twin-clutch gearbox. Now, the interesting thing about that is all of those 8 gears are forward drive gears. So you're wondering, where's the reverse in this car? Well, it's actually the E motor. It will reverse under the hybrid unit itself. So all 8 gears are for going forwards, and then you'll switch it into reverse under electric power, which is pretty cool indeed. And the idea of the hybrid unit isn't just for green credentials, sustainability, etc. That is obviously one of those tick boxes, but the application in a high-performance car is for things like torque fill. So when you have a heavily turbocharged engine, there is an inherent lag which comes with turbos spooling up. But with a hybrid unit, you can fill that lag. So from early on, very low down in the rev range, it will fill where those turbos haven't quite met, meaning it will achieve a 0 to 60 time in around about 2.5 seconds, which for a 1,550 kilogram car based around a carbon fiber tub is pretty swift. It looks good because it's designed to cut through the air. However, while it's efficient at cutting through it, it's also adopted a lot of learning from the Valkyrie program, and it's very efficient at using it for downforce, of which, despite the fact that that wing doesn't look that big, it develops 600 kilograms of downforce. I mean, those sorts of figures, you would normally have a plank about here, which sometimes looks cool, but on something so beautiful, I think would ruin the aesthetic of it. Now, while we're round the back, there's so much learning from Valkyrie. The wing here, it's a little Valkyrie wing. And interestingly, despite the fact that Valkyrie also has so much crazy downforce, it too has a very similar split wing like this. The reason for that is there's so much aero taking place on the underneath of the car. These are the ones. These are the exciting things because they have benefited from the learnings of the super hyper flagship 3 million quid Valkyrie. And this is why I'm saying this thing's pretty decent value. Granted, it doesn't have a 11,100 RPM naturally aspirated V12. However, the use case for a car like that is quite niche, whereas this you're going to be able to use. You're going to be able to track it, you can road trip it, you could just use it. And what I really love, the eagle-eyed of you might notice the design language of these LED lights here. This has evolved out of the Vulcan program, which was originally a track-only sort of Uber V12 race car. And it's made its way onto this production car, and I love that. Even the perforations here. There's quite a lot there, which I'm seeing sharing with Victor. And the diffuser, well, that's just a thing entirely unto itself, isn't it? Look how far it goes under there. Look at that. And it's a complete flat floor. By the way, one statistic that I haven't thrown in is the torque, of which it has 1,000 Newton meters of it. That's the benefit of turbochargers interacting with hybrid units. The acceleration of this is just going to be absurd. Now, I know I've been banging on about Valkyrie and the learnings of that, but really, one example of that as well is the inboard pushrod suspension. Once again, that's a Formula One tech that's made its way into Valkyrie and made its way down to this thing. Very cool indeed. Now let's talk about the wheels. We have a staggered size setup, so 20-inch at the front, 21-inch at the rear, and as with all Aston's ultra-high performance stuff, they are shod with a bespoke developed Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyre. Once again, Michelin were an exclusive partner chosen for the Valkyrie program. It'll be interesting to know, and at this stage it's too early, but on the Valkyrie program there's an optional track pack. It's jogged my memory because even though this car hasn't turned a wheel yet, I was thinking, I wonder how fast it'll go on a set of Cup 2Rs. But maybe there will be an optional track pack that comes with this car, and then imagine that. What will that thing look like? Now then, carbon ceramic brakes all round. They are known as matrix carbon ceramic brakes because they are brake-by-wire, which Aston are telling me guarantee extreme stopping performance. Once again, if you're braking with 600 kilograms of downforce, you're going to have some serious stopping power, and with the Michelin Cup 2s, some serious grip to go with it. So no doubt, with matrix carbon ceramics, yeah, you're going to be entering your Apex with a lot of confidence. And then, ultimately tying all of that performance, drivetrain and suspension together to compliantly ride on the road is a Multimatic adaptable high-frequency suspension system. Basically means you're going to be able to, at the flick of a switch, go from road mode to track mode, and because the carbon fiber tub has such sophisticated structural rigidity, it means that they're going to be able to control the inputs and adjustments of the suspension to an incredibly fine degree. Yeah, all in all, I'm selling it to myself just standing here. Honestly, I know you're not technically in the room. Aesthetically, it's absolutely stunning. If cameraman would be so kind to just join me down here, for example, look at the side of this. Look at that. Look at that for aero sculpture. It's phenomenal. It looks like it's been carved by the wind, which I guess technically it's probably spent a decent amount of time in simulation and wind tunnel, and that's the result of efficiency and downforce. Really excited by this thing. It's very, very cool indeed. So, here it is, the very first look at the all-new and heavily revised since we first saw it at Geneva, Aston Martin Valhalla. So I'm told the car will be hitting the road for customers around about the second half of 2023. Aston are really keen to share a very specific message because despite all of the fancy tech that I've just shared, they are really keen to express that this is very much designed to be a driver's car, in that you will do the driving and be in control of all of the attributes of this car, not the other way round, in that the tech intervenes in the driving experience. And that's happening a lot. As we record right now, there is these intervening cars which have too much power and all the assistance systems that get in the way and numb it down and don't make it overly exciting. Aston say they've identified that and want to maintain at the core of the ethos of the vehicle to be driver focus first. With that in mind, please leave your questions and comments below. And if there's anything that you would like to know, hear or see about this car, I shall bear it in mind for future content, and I shall very kindly be in touch with Aston Martin to see if we can immerse you in this program as much as we have with Valkyrie. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Ciao!